Well, Game 1 of the 2015 NBA Finals is in the books, and frankly, it was everything that you could hope it would be. Big stars playing big on the game's biggest stage. What an outstanding, exciting game it truly was. These are the type of games that I look forward to the NBA giving me in the playoffs, and here I got it in Game number 1 of the 2015 NBA Finals. Now, early on, it looked like the Cavaliers understood that this game was really going to set the tone for this series and that they understood the importance of this game and they knew they had to come out swinging and be aggressive because early on they were. They were beating the Warriors in all aspects. LeBron James came out aggressive. He was there to play. He was there to win. Kyrie Irving looked good. He looked pretty healthy. And he also brought his game, and he came to play. And as you got to the end of the first quarter, and the Cavs had that 10-point lead, and they even expanded upon that a little bit in the early portion of the second quarter, you're starting to look at the game, and you're saying, the Cavaliers, this might be their best shot to win a game in Golden State. But they might very well be able to win this game in Golden State and set the tone for the rest of this series. And, it looked like it was going to be that way at one point in time. But then the game started to change. The Warriors' depth really started to play out to their benefit. They closed the gap and made it, I believe, a 3-point game at halftime. And it stayed pretty close all throughout. And then you even get to the end of regulation. You could start to see where the Cavaliers were really starting to wear down. They were starting to get tired. Their lack of depth was catching up with them. The number of minutes that guys like LeBron and Kyrie and others were playing were starting to catch up with them as well. But you look at the end of the game and you're looking at a situation where Steph Curry has the ball. He's burned past Kyrie Irving, and here comes Kyrie Irving on the recovery to block Curry from behind. It was an incredible play, and at that particular moment, I'm like, man, that's the type of defensive stand you make, and then you go back after the timeout and you score the winning basket on the offensive end and you go up 1-0 in the series and you take away home court advantage from the Golden State Warriors. But ultimately, that's not what came to pass. The Cavaliers came out of the timeout and they basically played isolation ball for LeBron James. I think he made a really terrible decision to sit there and just basically go to the left and jack up that 3 over Iguodala, who was all over him in that type of situation. I know the fatigue and the energy level that he had already expended in the game, for as good as he had played throughout the game, was starting to catch up with LeBron James. But you got to understand the situation. You got to be able to at least try to get to the hoop and create a shot for yourself or maybe even somebody else. But even in that case, the Cavs still had one last shot to win it when that rebound went out to Iman Shumpert. And think about it this way. Think about how the whole complexion of the series would potentially have changed if Iman Shumpert's shot would have went in. It would have been game over. The Cavaliers are up 1-0, and most importantly of all, there would have been no overtime period where a Kyrie Irving would go on to hurt his knee. Instead, what happened? Shumpert's shot rims out. You go to overtime, the Cavaliers are spent, the Warriors are pretty fresh, and they dominate the overtime period. Kyrie Irving goes down halfway through with a knee injury, and now you're looking at a Cavaliers team already banged up without a Kevin Love, now looking at potentially playing maybe a game or the rest of the series without one of their other stars in Kyrie Irving, and the Warriors held serve at home and won Game 1 108-100 in overtime. I mean, just think about that. I know you got like Skip Bayless saying, well, if LeBron hits that shot, it's a stupid shit. But, it's just weird how crap can work out. And it shows you sometimes how small the margins can be in the NBA, how differently things would have went maybe if LeBron James did create a better shot for himself or somebody else, or even if just Iman Shumpert's shot happens to fall in. There's no overtime. Cavs are up 1-0. Kyrie Irving isn't hurt. This whole landscape can change off of one play. And what's so sad and tragic about it is, for Kyrie Irving, a guy that until this year had never even made it to the playoffs, he's been battling these injuries, but here he is in the finals of Game 1. He plays pretty well, makes a hell of a defensive play on the league's MVP late to give his team an opportunity to win, and then you go into overtime and he hurts his knee, and it didn't look particularly good. It's just really sad And we'll see ultimately what happens with Kyrie Irving and to the Cavs for the rest of the series. Now, let's take a look a little bit deeper at game number 1. And let's look at why the Warriors won and why the Cavaliers lost. I got to look first at why the Warriors won. You're looking at the Warriors. They were able to shoot better from 2, from 3, and from free throw line than the Cleveland Cavaliers were. So the Warriors shot the ball better in all aspects, from 2, from 3, and from the charity stripe. You're also looking at a Warriors team that had more assists, meaning that they were creating better shots for themselves and especially others. They also won the battle on the boards. With guys like Tristan Thompson and Mozgov and even a LeBron, you would think that that would be one advantage that the Cavaliers would have in this series is on the glass. But that really didn't manifest. They had a small advantage on the offensive glass, but a small one at that. But the Warriors were able to out-rebound the Cavaliers, and that's just something that can't happen. And you look at the Warriors, too. You're talking about a team that had nobody score 30 points, but what they did have is they had 10 people score, and 6 people end up in double figures. So you had a sharing of the wealth. You had everybody that was on the floor contributing something in a positive sense for the Warriors. When you look at how the entire game played out, you could especially see it at the end. You could understand why the Warriors ended up winning Game 1. You could understand why the Warriors were viewed as the favorites heading into this series. And you could frankly see why so many people view the Western Conference to be far superior to the Eastern Conference. Because when you look at the Cavaliers and you see what happened in this game, and especially as the game played out, you said this is a team that swept the Atlanta Hawks, a 60-win team. What does that say about the Eastern Conference? But in general, why did the Cavaliers lose? They only had 6 players score. This is not a team that had a lot of depth to begin with, but they played with even less depth, if that makes sense, in this game. While 8 players touched the floor, only 6 of them managed to score, and only 3 of them in double figures. That was LeBron with his 44, I think Kyrie had 23, and then it was Mozgov with 15 or 16, and that was it. You got Tristan Thompson playing 40-something minutes that puts 2 points up. Yes, he's giving you a lot in terms of defense and especially rebounding, especially in the offensive glass, but they need some points from that position too. And this is where you could see that on the one hand, maybe this team in some ways offensively is better off without Kevin Love, and maybe defensively especially. But this is where you could really start to see that loss of Kevin Love. They missed that 3rd big-time scorer. This is a team that's built around having 3 big-time scorers, and they don't have that 3rd big-time scorer. And they ended up, as a result, with just 3 players in double figures and only 6 guys on the board. Whereas you've got the Warriors with 10 players in the scoring column and 6 of them in double figures. I mean, eventually that's going to catch up to you. And then the players that did play for the Cavs outside of LeBron and Kyrie and Mozgov and Thompson, the rest of those guys really didn't play well. They didn't get a ton out of James Jones. They got very little out of Dellavedova. In fact, I don't even think he took a shot in under 10 minutes. But I look especially at J.R. Smith and Iman Shumpert, 2 guys that I thought were critical, especially as the playoffs went along, to the Cavaliers' success in helping get them to this point, to the NBA Finals. I mean, Shumpert and Smith were playing otherworldly for their abilities and their skill levels late in the Eastern Conference playoffs. But you get to Game 1 here, and they go a combined 5 for 19. 5 for 19. Shumpert was, what, 2 for 5? So that makes J.R. Smith really bad, if you get my drift. I mean, you just can't succeed with those 2 key guys failing to show up. And you could see that lack of depth for the Cavaliers manifest itself late, where the Warriors were able to sit there. If you look at the end of the first quarter and into the second quarter, they went for a long period of time, I believe that first half almost of the second period, without Steph Curry or Klay Thompson on the floor at all, and they were managed and able to narrow the gap. The Warriors are able to sit there and bring in fresh bodies and do different things and run different types of lineups and configurations, where the Cavs pretty much have to be the same thing. They've got 6, 7 guys that they can go to in certain roles, and that's about it. And eventually, that's going to wear on you, and eventually, that's going to fatigue a team. And the longer they allowed the Warriors to stay in this game, the more likely it became that the Cavaliers were going to be the ones that looked tired, fatigued, and beaten up, and they were ultimately going to lose this game, and that's exactly what happened. Now, what did we ultimately learn from Game 1 of the 2015 NBA Finals? I think we learned a lot of what we already knew, is that the Warriors just have too much depth for the Cavaliers. They can legitimately go 10, and honestly, if you want to throw David Lee in there, who didn't see the floor at all in Game number 1, they can go 11 deep. I mean, the Cavaliers, even with Kyrie Irving, can go 8 deep, maybe 9, and that's a maybe. Maybe, and a big maybe at that. Now you're talking about potentially not having a Kyrie Irving. Who did the Cavaliers really turn to? They're already a team depleted with the losses of Kevin Love and Anderson Varejao. Who do they go to? I mean, what are you going to go to? Kendrick Perkins? Mike Miller? Sean Marion? Joe Harris? And this is a Cavaliers team that's in big trouble in a lot of ways, in large part because they just don't have enough pieces. They just don't have enough functional depth. What we also found out is that the Warriors can win without the Splash Brothers dominating. I mean, Steph Curry played better in the tail end of the fourth quarter and into overtime, but he hadn't played that great through the first 3+ quarters, and this most certainly wasn't a great shooting night for Klay Thompson. But the Warriors had Iguodala play well. Draymond Green played well. Harrison Barnes played well. They just had so many different guys that could, for Christ's sakes, Maurice Spates is sitting there contributing. He's giving you 8 points off of the bench. And what we also know is that with the Cavaliers, they could still lose with LeBron and Kyrie dominating, which is frankly what happened in game number 1. LeBron James was the man, and Kyrie Irving had a hell of a game. And it still wasn't enough. They still could lose. And what I think we really learned, too, is that ultimately this might have been the best shot for the Cleveland Cavaliers. In my finals preview, I talked about the fact that if the Cavaliers had any shot of making this a series or any shot of potentially thinking about winning this, they had to win one of the first 2 games and possibly even win game number 1. And in a lot of ways, even though Shumpert and Smith didn't play all that particularly well, in a lot of ways you felt like last night, with as well as LeBron James played and how well Kyrie Irving played before the injury, that this was Cleveland's best shot to win one of those first 2 in Golden State. And the Warriors were able to take that best shot and able to still find a way to win the game. That's what championship teams do. The Cavaliers lost a game for all intents and purposes they probably should have won. The Warriors won a game for all intents and purposes they probably should have lost. And when you look at it, now you're thinking again about Kyrie Irving, even if he can play, is he going to be effective? He very well looks like he might not even play in game 2, let alone the rest of the series. You look at what happened in game 1, the condition of the Cavaliers roster, the status of Kyrie Irving going forward. I think it pretty much seals the Cavs' fate. It's not a matter of if, but when and how soon that the Golden State Warriors put an end to all of this and put the Cavs out of their misery this year and end up being the 2014-2015 NBA champions. After watching Game 1, I don't really know how that could be disputed. I don't really know how anybody can see it differently. Stranger things have happened, but you're looking at it. You had LeBron James play one of the best games he's ever played, in my opinion, especially in the NBA Finals, and his team still lost. I highly doubt you can expect LeBron to be that exact same guy, put up that exact same level of 44 points in the next 3 or 4 games apiece. It's just not realistic. It's just not something that's going to happen. It's not something that really suits LeBron and what he wants to do. So if you can't win with LeBron scoring 44, when the hell are you going to win? I'd be very surprised at this point if the Cavaliers did win a game in this series. They might win Game 3 or Game 4, but that's going to be it. That's going to be it. I'll stand by my prediction that the Warriors are going to win this series in 5 games, and based off of what I saw on Thursday night, I see no reasons to feel any different.